world is changing." The two men finished their noodles, paid the young woman with the accent at the cash register, and walked out to see the full brightness of the afternoon poured over shining vehicles that filled the strip mall parking lot, each one looking like they'd just been washed. "I'll give you this at least, man. It's sunnier here than in Vancouver." "So what? Everywhere is sunnier in Vancouver." The clap of gunfire sounded at what seemed like the same instant the shorter man's chest crumbled. "Brody?" "It don't look so big from here," yelled the shooter, squeezing 3 bullets into the face and stomach of the man still standing. Kamloops shoppers from various conveniently clustered retail outlets began to scream as they processed the incongruously metropolitan violence. The tires of the red Dodge Ram screamed with them as the vehicle surged through the parking lot, turning onto one of the several smaller streets that radiated out from the shops and onto the wide, long highway that led from the rest of the whole country right into its terminus city. Chapter 1. When the murders were reported the next day, the papers were sure to note that the victims were known to police, so that normal people wouldn't be too worried or care too much. To be known in this way implied an intimacy greater than the biblical sense of the word. For Brody Miller and Wason Tam, the 2 De Silva brothers associates gunned down outside the Ram and Lion in Kamloops in the harsh, dry sunshine of a summer afternoon, to be known to police was to be hived off from the rest of humanity, to be marked as the kind of easy-money scumbags who refused to work for a living like the rest of us. Anybody who expected an immediate 70 or 80% return on any investment, besides a house, probably deserved whatever they had coming. The criminal enterprises of the De Silva brothers had deeply divided Vancouver's racist community. Those who primarily saw news about them on television considered them to be emblematic of the Punjabi gangs threatening the safety of Lower Mainland taxpayers, while those who primarily heard about them on the radio considered them to represent the nightmare of Latino criminal predation. That they were neither Punjabi nor Latino perhaps got at the underlying set of circumstances that had allowed the 2 siblings to navigate the Vancouver underworld with such success. Born in Canada to Catholic parents from Goa, the De Silva boys had found themselves uniquely equipped for life and death in the mosaic of organized crime on the West Coast. Vincenzo Zio De Angelis had been present at the first communion of Danny De Silva's daughter, Epiphany. Nicky De Silva had been photographed on all 3 days of Manpreet Goodnight Singh's wedding. Almost preternaturally, the De Silva boys had developed a talent for talking with the very select groups of people whom they could not terrify or, eventually, extinguish. Like early Cold War Americans, they combined hard and soft power expertly, viewing big guns and diplomacy not as mutually exclusive alternatives, but as handmaidens. Like early Cold War Americans, they prioritized talent above tribal loyalties, recruiting brains and muscle in all hues. There would be some newspaper readers who, in taking in the news of Miller and Tam's shooting, wouldn't be able to help but be oddly moved that a boy christened Brody Terrence and a boy christened Wason G.U. could be members of the same gang, gunned down by the same people. It marked a certain kind of progress. But closer observers of the city's gangland conflagrations would know that any biting at the fringes of the De Silva organization meant that the careful equilibrium that had held the peace for several years now was starting to unravel. It had been a long time since the De Silvas had had to prove anything, or since anyone had tried to prove anything by them. The uneasy détente between their lively multicultural ranks and those of their more homogeneously pallid, leather-vested rivals, the Underground Riders, had been hard won, but for it to be lost didn't require malice or stupidity on anyone's part. That there were now armed men stationed inside and outside the De Silva home in the deep suburbs of Surrey, that Epiphany and her siblings, her cousins, her mother and her aunt had been evacuated